Good morning, darlings. Do not click off this video. You are not on the wrong one, I promise. Yes, we looked at the prologue last time. However, last time we looked at the fact that it was an overview of the plot. We looked at a couple of key words and their connotations. We were looking at some of the ways Shakespeare was able to craft meaning and give the audience an idea of what was coming up and some of the key themes in his play. What we need to do now is we need to look at much more challenging and ambitious methods. Now, when we think of methods, we usually think of metaphors and similes, bit of personification or pathetic fallacy, bit of oxymoron or juxtaposition, even if we're really lucky, some onomatopoeia. If you hear a weird noise in a minute, it will be my dog. Please ignore him. So, what we need to do now is we need to look at this prologue for these 4 words on the screen. We've got rhyme, sonnet, iambic pentameter, and trochee, which sounds like a funny word, but it's great. So, the joy of being in lockdown is that if you don't know what something means, you can look it up and nobody will know. So, if it is that you don't know what rhyme means, you can now look it up, because I won't know and I'm not explaining it, because you should know, really, if I'm being totally honest. So, we're looking at rhyme and sonnet together to start off with. Now, a sonnet. There are plenty of different types of sonnets which you can research in your own time. I'm going to be talking about the Shakespearean sonnet, sometimes called the English sonnet, and that's what the prologue is. It's a Shakespearean sonnet. The Shakespearean sonnet consists of 14 lines, and this is divided up into 3 groups of 4 lines and 1 group of 2 lines, which is a rhyming couplet, which means that it rhymes with the 2 lines rhyme with each other and nothing else. Now here we've got a rhyme scheme: A B A B, C D C D, E F E F, G G, which means that dignity and mutiny rhyme. Those are your letter A's. Seen and unclean rhyme. Those are your letter B's. Foes and overthrows rhyme. Those are your letter C's. Life and strife rhyme, and those are your letter D's, and so on and so forth. This is what we call a rhyme scheme, okay? This is necessary when we're analysing methods for us to be able to comment on, as long as we can say how it helps contribute to the overall message of the play. Now, iambic pentameter is something a little more complicated. When we think of pent, we think of things to do with 5. We think of a pentagram, we think of pentathletes and pentathlons, which are a group of 5 events that people compete in because, you know, they're much more active than me. But we think of 5. And what we have here is 5 groups of 5 metrical feet. It's 5 groups of 2 syllables, essentially. So, if you count on your fingers all the syllables in the top line, 2 households, both are like in dignity, that's 10. That's your iambic pentameter. In fair Verona, where we lay our scene, is another 10. So if you go through, you'll be able to count them. We have 10 syllables. Now, trochee is the interesting one. Trochee helps define where we put our emphasis. So trochee is it's a metrical foot, so a pair of 2 syllables, and it's where we stress what we have, a long stressed syllable. Stressed here doesn't mean scared, anxious, worried, nervous, pulling your hair out. It means emphasis. So stressed, a long stressed syllable followed by a short unstressed syllable. So you have to go through and think where exactly the stressed syllables are and the unstressed syllables. And you can go ahead and stick like a little flick above the stressed ones. And for an actor, this is important because it helps make sure that we are emphasizing the correct parts of metrical feet. Because 2 households is 3 syllables. But we need to know where we're stressing. Where are we putting our emphasis if we were acting this out? And as an audience member, we need to be able to listen to this. And as a reader, as a student of literature, we need to be able to see what exactly Shakespeare wanted to emphasize so that we would pay attention to that particular section more because we'd realize it was more important. Now, there are a couple of things that I want to talk to you about. One is pronunciation and the next is transferring of skills. So pronunciation, we speak with, when actors nowadays perform this, they usually speak with what's called received pronunciation. It sounds essentially like Mr. Knight. Essentially, you say class instead of class, and you speak with how they would on the news. But the original pronunciation, and I'll pop a link to this down in the description box below. Get me, a YouTuber, joy. Was much different. Shakespeare came from a different part of the country and had a different accent and wrote for that accent, and you will be able to hear just how different it was. And it's great because there are some plays on words, there are some puns involved if you read it in the original, if you hear it in the original accent. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you about is transferring skills. What does that mean? It means that by studying in such depth things like sonnets and iambic pentameter and trochee and a rhyme scheme, we are able to appreciate literature more than we did before. And hopefully, if we consider what we are writing before we write it, when we get to English language paper 1 section B and we are writing our own work, our own piece of creative work, as we are asked to do for 40 marks, which is 25% of our English language GCSE. If we have studied in depth the plays and the novellas and the poems that we study for English literature, we are able then, if we are conscientious about it and really put some effort in, we are able to then transfer what we've learned to our own work, thus making us better writers and making sure we've got a firmer grasp on the English language and how to manipulate it and do better for ourselves at GCSE. So go ahead and make some notes on this. Try and find the iambic pentameter. Make sure all these lines have 10 beats in them, 10 syllables. Find where the trochee is and stick a little flick over where you think the stressed syllable is. And make some notes. You can print this little section out and put it into your books if you want, and I'll mark it whenever we get back to school. In the meantime, if there are any issues, you know where to email me. You can tweet me at Miss Hine English, or you can ask a friend and see if they've got any ideas too. Don't forget, people in your class, you can always ask people in your class and share ideas. It's really good to be collaborative. So stay at home. Wash your hands, stay safe, and I will hopefully see you very soon. I miss you all. Take care of yourselves.